approximately, I think it's like 400 a month. So you can imagine the sort of impact that that has on a particular kind of town and the culture of the town and society. So this is in Modesto, and over here in Jan is a series of portraits on a jazz musician called Cecil Taylor, and that's another project that Ian is working on in New York. And so it's quite interesting, the sort of, I mean, the way I sort of describe this or try to articulate it is not unlike being on a road journey. And being in the US, it's all roads. And you stop for a moment and you get out of your car and you experience different characters. And that's, in essence, pretty much what I've been doing for the past 17 years. So that's Modesto. This is Cecil Taylor. And the other thing that Emil does is he develops an incredibly intimate, close relationship with the subjects that he works with. Some of you may have seen the film called Varsity about Uncle Jack Charles, he's now done his work with Rock House and the company or what have you, but you know, Uncle Jack Charles was a real, he's a real character around Fitzroy and the Collingwood area. He's been in prison in Scrapes and he's had various kind of trainings with addiction. So this was a feature-length film that Emil did with Jack Charles, and it sort of depicts his life over a long period of time. So he's shooting it for about 2 years ago. Cecil Taylor is not unlike that portrait of Jack Charles. Two other features in the film is called Hail and Ruin. And what's unique about the process is that he finds real life characters, unique, who are in some way, here is a suite of them here, in some way, kind of had either some sort of impact of violence, some sort of trauma, and this is the sort of, the survival and the result of that experience. And a lot of his characters are extremely damaged by that impact, but also there's a great, wonderful kind of respect and reverence that he has in relation to acknowledging that this has happened, that there's great resilience and compassion toward the characters. So these are shot on the all but kind of antiquated 35mm disposable cameras, which you can still get in the US and you can still develop. Virtually impossible, as we discovered, to do here, to actually get film processed. Again, it's very much a dying format, which in and of itself is fascinating. So these are just different characters that he's met along the way. Like, for instance, the guy down here is Scarecrow. This is Rick. He was he's like a ex-pro skater. A lot of these characters, or individuals, he will just, tell you exactly the exchange he's had and tell you sort of the backstory of each of these characters. Behind you there is another almost sort of snapshot, but it's an audio conversation that he had with a person that he met outside of 7-Eleven. This is 7-Eleven's in the US, the best casting kind of locations, going to anywhere. So we, go to 7-Eleven and people who hang around 7-Eleven, he tends to have a chat with. So Cecil Taylor is an ongoing project, and again, these are happy snaps of this. He's been living with Cecil Taylor in New York and making this documentary project of Cecil. It's quite experimental and structured, but a traditional sort of linear narrative. Now, this strip here was again in discussions, sitting down with Emil. Okay, so we come in, we walk into Modesto, and we walk into, this kind of almost infinite portraits of Cecil, and kind of audio posts. And in a lot of ways, this is sort of has a beautiful kind of filmic reference. You know, at different times of the day, it almost looks like, you know, 24 frames per second running across the room. So it has this lovely sculptural element. And I always love a work by Laszlo Hondianj that is, what's it called, the light space modulator.
Yeah.
And it has different light sources that went onto it, and as it rotated, it had this kind of wonder of light and play that would activate. And it also, you know, you also get a snapshot of the exterior, and it makes you, you know, kind of look at the faces going by, so it's pretty much eye level. And the curiosity of, you know, passers by looking is quite lovely. At night, you can see it's lit up in a glow. So this is Modesto and Cecil Taylor, but we'll just move into the next one. Any questions last time?